Hi, welcome to How to Repair. This video is on how to dismantle and salvage the good working parts off this Hoover washing machine. It was manufactured in 2010 and the bearing system has done quite well when you consider that this machine is 14 to 15 years old. It is a VHD 844DB-80. Every component on this machine is in perfect working condition, apart from the drum bearings which need replacing. But in early part of 2000, manufacturers in the Northern Hemisphere, pretty much all of the manufacturers, started introducing what we call in the industry sealed washing machine drums. Now the bearings for this machine, the front bearing is approximately £5 to buy, the rear bearing is a little bit less, and the seal that stops the water getting into the bearings is approximately £5. So if the bearings had failed, you would have been able to replace them before they started introducing sealed drums for as little as £20 and maybe 2 or 3 hours work replacing the bearings. But the manufacturer has removed the right to repair. And you can actually hear how noisy this machine is, and I'll stop it so you can hear me. The sealed washing machine drums are the vein of our industry today. Manufacturers are deliberately building in obsolescence to get you to buy machines more often, and this is totally wrong. The components for this machine are £198 for this model of machine for the drum assembly, when the machine only cost approximately £280 to buy. I do not blame the people in chucking this out and it going to the landfill. Yes, the steel would be recycled, but the plastics and everything would most probably be going into the landfill. And this is a disgrace, really. All manufacturers in the Northern Hemisphere are doing this, and it is totally wrong. And you can see all about this information of built-in obsolescence on the channel. Now we're going to dismantle this machine because the program, the pump, the motor is all in perfect condition, and these spare parts may help people in the future keep their machine going for a longer period at an affordable price. First thing we need to do is remove the door, and then we're going to lift the machine down onto the floor so we can dismantle it, because the drum on this machine has to come out through the top. And this is because certain manufacturers do not make it easy to access the machine. This is a welded cabinet, meaning that the front half of this machine does not come off. A lot of manufacturers have a removable front panel, but Hotpoint, Hoover, Candy, Indeset, Ariston usually are making what you call welded cabinets. Bosch, Neff, Siemens, Zanussi, AEG, Electrolux, LG, Samsung and many other companies have a machine where you're able to remove the fascia, open the door, peel back the door seals, a couple of screws at the bottom, and the front panel will come away. This company has no intention of you ever being able to repair the machine because they actually put it into a welded cabinet and make it very difficult for you to access the machine. Also, the lids on these Hoover and Candy machines are some of the worst in the industry. They are exceedingly difficult to get off, and you'll see all that in a second. While I'm doing the video, I'll also be talking you through the error codes that occur with this machine, common faults that I have found over the last 20 years with these machines, and how to rectify them, and easy fixes that can occur on these machines, which will help you prolong the life of the machine. So first thing we're going to do is take the door off the machine, and this is straightforward. They're hex drives or Torx, and we need to undo these screws and remove the door, and then we can actually peel the door seal off. The door seal on this machine is not salvageable due to the fact it's got a lot of mildew on it, and the new door seal for these machines are quite affordable anyway. Okay, to remove the door, it's just a Torx 25. And you just undo the 2 screws. Now, while I'm doing this, if you are thinking of buying a new washing machine today, it is not worth touching any of the manufacturers if they are not putting a full 5-year parts and labour warranty on their machines. And I'm going to explain why. Hoover, Candy, Hotpoint, Indeset and some of the other lower end price bracket machines give you a full 12 months parts and labour. Some of the companies even say it comes with a 10-year parts warranty. This is wrong Because a 10-year parts warranty is obligating you to actually using their engineers. And with labour costs in the UK alone at the moment, a call out is going to cost you in excess of £100. So there is no real benefit having full parts guarantee if something like the door seal has perished or possibly the pump has failed, because these components could be as little as £30, and then you're having to pay over £100 to get the part replaced, which you could replace yourself, especially with the video library that I have today showing you how to do this. By the way, once you've undone the 2 screws, lift the door up and the door will come away. Next, extended warranties. Well, these extended warranties that you can buy when you buy these machines with 12 months warranty would cost you £3–4 a month, maybe up to £5–6 on some of the better insurance policies. But when you consider this machine was £280 to buy, and if you wanted peace of mind for 5 years, you're going to be paying for 4 years extended warranty, and let's say it's £5 a month, that's going to relate to £240. And that would mean that you would having to add that price to the cost of the machine. You'd be better off buying a higher end machine with a longer warranty period. I think all electronics should come with a bare minimum of 5-year guarantee on things like washing machines, fridge freezers, tumble dryers and dishwashers. I don't understand how Britain allows this manufacturer to only give a 12-month guarantee, but the same machine in France comes with a standard 2-year guarantee. And that is absolutely ludicrous. Next thing we need to do is peel off the door seal, because this will make it easier for me. And I'm just going to use a flat blade screwdriver. There's a clipping system at the bottom, which I just need to prise, and then this band will come away. That's a perfectly good part, and someone will appreciate that. So already we have a good door, and doors break quite common because children hang on them when the door is open. Now, this door seal can't be sold because it has a lot of mildew on it and mould. That means it's basically unusable on someone's new machine, and door seals are not that expensive anyway. Hoover and Candy are quite good at certain spare parts when it comes to their pricing. Pumps, shock absorbers, door interlocks, door seals are all affordable, but the key components like the electronics or the motor or the drum is so expensive. It is designed so you throw the machine out and don't replace it, because that's what they want you to do. Okay, peeling the door seal back will give you access to the door lock at this position. It's easier for me to do it here and video it for you. Pressing the 2 catches down, one at a time, pressing the door lock in this direction, it will come loose on the 2 pins. Turn it slightly to a 30-degree angle, slide it back, and the door lock will come away. By the way, if you ever have on your display E01, this normally means it's a door lock fault. Door locks can become faulty, but when replacing it, do inspect the wiring connection to make sure it's all in good condition, because sometimes the actual wiring terminals or the actual wires themselves may have overheated due to a bad connection, and they can be damaged. If that's the case, you'll either have to cut them back and replace the wiring with a new plug, or you're going to have to replace the wiring loom. And believe it or not, some of these manufacturers are charging an extortionate price for the wiring loom. I believe the wiring loom on this machine was £139 for the actual wiring throughout the machine, which is a ridiculous price. Yet again, building obsolescence into these machines. Okay, before lifting it down, I took the back of the machine off because it's easier for me to film here. And I've already cut the lead off the machine because it was damaged, and the waste hose is also damaged. But I wanted to go through some of the common errors that can occur with this machine. Now, firstly, the motor system. And if I can recall, F07 and 8 on these machines are related to motor faults. Now, the motors that they were using at this time when manufacturing were brush motors, meaning that carbon brushes can wear, and this is a common fault with the motors. Also, sometimes if you've left the carbon brushes wear down so badly, they can damage the motor and you can end up with armature damage, and you might need to replace the motor. The belt system as well has got common issues which we know about. The pulley wheel can become loose and throw the belt off the actual pulley. And I'll show you this in a second. Another fault code that occurs is to do with the NTC sensor and the heating system. And if I just bring up that a second, I believe 15, 16 and 17 could be related to heater faults or PCB faults, and also E05, meaning that the NTC sensor that measures the temperature of the water in the machine can also become faulty. And I'll actually do an ohms reading on this NTC sensor, and we have a room temperature here of about 18 degrees, so you'll get a good indication of what the ohms reading should be as well. But all that being said, we're going to take the belt off the machine, and the easiest way of doing this is pulling the belt towards you slightly while rotating it, and the belt will just fall away. Now this belt is in perfect condition, and it's a 5 EPJ 1225, meaning it's 1 meter 225 millimeter long, and the 5 EPJ is related to how many ribs there are on the belt and the actual shaping of the actual belt. But that's a perfectly good belt for someone. Now we need to remove the motor, and that's straightforward. Take off the earth wire, and then we'll be able to remove the motor plug. 2 of these wires will be for the tacho, 2 will be for the carbon brushes, and the other wires will be related to the field windings in the motor. Always make sure that the terminal is in good condition. And now we need to use, I believe it's 10mm nuts, and this motor will come away. Put your hand underneath the motor and slide it towards you. Now, if it won't come away, it is useful to use either a hook screwdriver and just put it behind and prise the motor towards you, making sure to support the weight of the motor. Once it's loose, they do weigh 5-6 kilo, the motor will drop down and you will be able to lift the motor out. Now these are the carbon brushes on the motor, and I have done many a video on the actual YouTube channel to show you how to replace them and also inspect the armature. But that is a perfectly good motor, and that will save someone a lot of money, because the motors on these machines are somewhere in the region of about 140, 150 pound. And this motor is 48025454. And that is in perfect condition, and it's manufactured by a company which is CE Set, and it's an MC52/64-148 CY44, and that's a perfectly good motor. Okay, as I promised you, I'll do the NTC sensor reading. As I said, E05 is the common error code that occurs when you have a problem with the NTC sensor. Taking the plug out the back, there are 2 connections in there, and I'm going to turn the meter to 200k range on ohms, and it's quite difficult to get your probes on there, but if I measure there now, and as I said, we have a room temperature of approximately 18 degrees at the moment, and we have an ohms reading of 31.7, 31.6. So that gives you a good indication if your NTC sensor is good. As I said, this machine went through a cycle perfectly. It was heating, it cut off at 40 and 60 degrees, which were the 2 washes that I did. And the NTC sensor is what relays the information to the circuit board to actually energize a relay, either to send electricity to the heating element and then disconnecting the relay when it reaches the right temperature, allowing the program then to move on to the rinse cycles and the other procedures during the wash cycle. So that's all good. Now, while I'm here, I'm also going to remove the wiring off the bottom of the machine to make it easier for me to lift it out after. There's a cable tie there, and also an earth wire, which I'm just going to chop, and then I will pull the electrics off, and that's disconnected the electrics for when I lift out the drum. But while I'm here, I'm just going to show you these pulley wheels and the problem that occurs with these pulley wheels. As you can see, it's a Torx drive, and this is a Torque 40, I think. Yes, it is. And this is very, very difficult to undo. And I normally snap these on a regular occurrence when only using this. But an easier way to do it, and it will mean slightly damaging the nut. If I just put a chisel, a steel chisel here, and I just tap into it and then turn the angle slightly, I'm able to loosen it. This means that when I use a torque now, it undoes easily. And what actually happens with this is when they get loose, they actually strip the spline. And a matter of fact, I will take this off for you now so you can see. And then I will compare it to a machine I did a video on recently. But if I just undo this, I'm just rocking it because this is a spline connection. And what actually happens when these pulley wheels get loose, they actually strip the splines. And it's quite common for this to happen. The machine I recently made a video on was literally 13 or 14 months old, and the nut had come loose and the actual pulley had separated from the shaft. And I will go and get that in a second, but first let me just get this off. When they're on there, they're normally on there very well. Just got to loosen it up, and then I'm able to wriggle this out. You can see it coming off here, and if you look closely you can actually see the spline that it sits on, and what actually happens is this strips. Now if I bring this up to the camera for you, and hopefully you can see, you can actually see the spline has stripped completely on this, and this was causing the belt to come off constantly on the other machine. And you need to use a special Loctite glue, and I use the one from my local merchant, and that's called stud grade. It's for actually doing up the putting onto the nut, and you should put it on there and that locks it in place. But if you look closely at this nut that I took off, I can't see any on there, and that should have had some type of locking glue. Loctite is another make, but this should be actually squeezed onto this, and when you do it up it sets, stopping this nut ever coming loose. Okay, next we're going to remove the lid, and there is 3 7mm bolts that just hold the trim in place. Now sometimes you are exceedingly lucky and these lids will come off easily, but if for example you have kept the washing machine in a slightly damp environment, meaning it could be in a garage or a shed, this wood swells up. Now this lid is coming off easily because it is coming off on all together, but these trims also get stuck on this wood, and these on occasions are an absolute nightmare. And don't just take my word for it, every engineer will tell you how hard these are to come off. And sometimes if I put that there and get the tools out of the way, this is actually going to lift off the way it should do. And there's a location lug at the back here that locks on here, but sometimes these have been done up too tight and they hold on this, and you've got to slide the whole wood out, and that can be an absolute nightmare. Okay, I'm just quickly going to take the concrete block off the top. I actually reuse these concrete blocks to make garden furniture out of washing machine drums, and you'll find a lot of videos where I've made clothesline holders, barbecue tables, and these are basically washing machine drums filled with old concrete and also new concrete, and then turned into a support weight on wheels. And I'll put one of these up in the corner here. They do make great umbrella holders, patio table holders, and many other items which can be used on your patio. Now to remove these are just 13mm. I've got my impactor. It does make life so easy. I must admit I do like some of my Milwaukee tools. Although I do get annoyed with the manufacturers building these blooming tools now where the batteries aren't interchangeable with other makes. As soon as I mentioned the word batteries, I just realised the battery on my microphone had gone, so I do apologise for the sound. Seems like they're trying to rig the game for me. Right, E02 is down to a water valve fault, or the flow of water going to the machine is inadequate, meaning you don't have enough flow. You may have kinked the pipe when pushing the washing machine under the worktop, or the tap is just not allowing the water to come through at the correct volume. And that is all due to the machine is unable to fill in the allocated period of time. Now this water valve is good, and I'm just quickly going to show you how to test it and take it off. There are two lugs. They used to put screws in on some water valves. You need to push the lug on one side up, similar to the door lock earlier, put the other one in, and then twist the water valve until it lines up, and then you're able to remove it. And if I just pull these connections out, as a matter of fact, I don't need to show you this. I've done many a video on the YouTube channel showing you how to test water valves. We just need to take the two connections off here. You should have roughly the same ohms reading on both of these valves, meaning that they're good and the electronic solenoids are good. And then in the back here, you've also got a filter. Watch out for debris clogging this up, as that can cause restrictions in the water flow as well. And then there's two clips to remove these. Okay, next we're going to remove the facial panel, but the first thing I'm going to do is just quickly remove the pressure switch. And the pressure switch is what measures the amount of water in the machine. In the old days you used to have mechanical pressure switches. Now you've got pressure switches that work on frequency, and as the water expands in the bottom of the machine, in the pressure bowl, it increases the pressure in this pipe with air. Then it tells the pressure switch what level of water is in there. This then sends a frequency reading to the circuit board, and you'll notice on this machine there are two circuit boards. One circuit board here, which is the main program board, and then you have a display board on the actual control panel. The main circuit board is where all the software is stored with regards to the wash cycles and everything else, and that is where all the relays are located as well, which turn on things like the water valve, the motor in a clockwise direction, anti-clockwise rotation, the heating element and pump and so on. So that's a good pressure switch. And now we'll remove the facial panel. We need to remove the soap door, and that just squeezes in. This soap door, to be honest with you, is in such a state I'm not going to be selling that because it's exceedingly calcified and dirty. Then there are two 7mm bolts at the top, and then I will swing the machine round to show you where the screws are. Okay, you will need a shallow socket on some of these washing machines because they actually put the nuts, or the bolts, sorry, in these two holes, and unless you've got the right type socket, which is a very shallow, narrow 7mm socket, these are exceedingly difficult to get off. But you always need the right tools for the job, as I always say. So that's one undone. This one, I can feel there's some rust on there. Then the soap door will drop back, and these nuts will come out in a minute once I've removed the facial panel. Now, hidden behind here is a clip that you need to press down to actually remove the facial panel. And it's quite difficult to get your hand on, and it's nearly impossible for me to film. But if I just lower that down, and there's one on this side as well. And then carefully, you should be able to remove the panel. Now, if I rotate this over for you, you can see the clip here, that one has broken, but these are quite tricky to get off. And those clips go in those two holes there, and there's a third clip here on this side as well. Okay, next we're going to remove the soap box. Now, this has got a flow hose from the soap box to the top of the drum. I imagine that takes any excess water away, and that's just got a clip. There is a mark on here to line this up correctly, and that is normally glued in. So this needs to be cleaned up, and when fitting it you will need to put fresh debore glue. You can find that at the website as well. Then the soap drawer will come over, and this is quite hard for me to film because of where it is, but basically if I open that up and press the clip, the soap box will come away. Again, this is really dirty and calcified. I won't be selling that. Now we're going to remove the wiring and also the PCB. This is straightforward, a 7mm nut, or bolt, sorry, holding it in place. And what I normally do for people, and if I just get my cutters from up here, I normally just cut the wiring on the printed circuit board. As you can see, there's multiple plugs and multiple locations where these have got to go, and this is why I cut the wiring. I will leave the data cable for the display on there. But that circuit board will save someone a lot of money. I'm also going to take off the electrical filter or suppressor. This is an item that sometimes can fail. This will then come off, and I'll take the wiring off this. And that is a perfectly good filter or suppressor for someone. Now I'll quickly remove the rest of the wiring, disconnect the sump hose at the bottom of the machine from the drum. As a matter of fact, I'll show you that quickly. Okay, if you look down by the top of the sump hose, you'll find a screw, and that's a Phillips. Just loosen this all the way off, and then just pull the hose away. E03 is normally a fault with the washing machine not emptying in the allocated period of time. This can be a faulty pump, a blockage in the sump hose, or a blockage in the filter. And on some occasions, the actual impeller on the pump can get damaged and cause problems as well. But I'm going to leave that off. Now, the last thing we need to undo is the suspension legs, and these are quite tricky to undo. And I'll try and film this from the other side. Now, if you look here, there is a pin that holds the suspension leg or shock absorber at the bottom. Now, this pin that goes through has a locking tab on the back, and I'll show you this once I've got it out. That tab needs to be pressed down, and also it's quite tricky, especially when filming, but if I lever this towards me slightly and then press down the tab, I need to make sure that that is pressed down. I heard it click then. Now when I lever this backwards, it will actually come through, but they are quite tricky to get out, and it might be worth using larger grips when doing this, because if you are replacing shock absorbers, you don't want to damage the pins. Now, if I bring this up to the camera for you, you can see on the side here there is a little locking pin. That needs to be pressed down to slide this out. Once that's out, then the shock absorber can go up, ready to lift it out, and I'll do the other side. Okay, with a 7mm, and you might need a set of pliers to hold the nut, you will undo the retaining band for the door seal. But you're starting to get an understanding on how deliberately difficult the manufacturer is making this machine. Because the front panel will not come off, it is exceedingly difficult to work on absolutely anything. That band is good, and that can be for someone. And now we're ready to lift the drum out of the machine. Now I have to lift the drum all the way up to come out of this cabinet. If the front panel was removable, like many other manufacturers, which I mentioned in the beginning of the video, it would make life so much easier. But this company doesn't care about you repairing the machine. They are deliberately making it as awkward as possible. And just think what their own engineers have to go through on a daily basis working on these hideous cabinets. Now, I'm exceedingly lucky. I have the right tools for the job, and I have a what you call a travel hoist or a roof hoist. It's very similar to what you see on the front of vehicles. It's basically a pulley, and I put the 3 bolts back in, and if I use my remote, now I'm able to lift the machine up slightly, take off the suspension springs, which are in perfect condition, and now carefully making sure nothing catches. And they are so tight in here, and it makes it so difficult to do absolutely anything with the machine. And you must remember, even if an engineer is coming out to your house to change the drum, it's really a 2-man job to do this, unless they're lying the machine on the floor and then sliding the drum in. No thought whatsoever towards the engineer who has to work on the machine. They only seem to care about their profits. Now, while it's up in the air, you have the front soap hose. Again, you can see this is being glued on, and that will need to be cleaned up before replacing if it's being fitted to another machine. And then we have the concrete block at the front, which I'll remove. And then you have the suspension legs are held on with a pin system at the top that you can see here. And exactly the same on the other side. But I'll take them off when it's on the floor. And the last thing I forgot to show you in the video was taking the pump off. That was actually 2 8mm bolts on the bottom of the machine. But basically, there you go. You get an understanding on how these machines are made, how they're assembled, and how hard they are to work on. Also, remember, manufacturers today are putting sealed drums into washing machines. So when you go out to buy a new machine, make sure, 1, you get a minimum of a 5-year guarantee. 2, ask the salesman, does the machine have a sealed drum in it, or are the bearings replaceable in the machine? We've got a whole basket full of spares there to list on the website, which will assist other people in saving money in the future and prolonging the life of their machines. There are many YouTube videos on our channel to show you how to change individual components and replace individual components, and also videos about error codes and other faults that occur on these machines. Thanks very much indeed for watching. Do remember to give the video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel if you wish, and remember you can get all the spare parts from the website. Just make sure you use your full model number. This machine was what I call scrapped correctly. It didn't just go into the landfill. Every usable component is recycled to prolong the life of other people's machines. Thanks very much indeed for watching.